Okay, so today we're going to look at the history of film, but probably not in the way you're used to. We're not just going to talk about great artists and blockbuster hits. Instead, let's treat cinema as this huge, powerful system, one that's been learning, adapting, and optimizing itself for more than 100 years. You've had that feeling, right? You're watching a brand new movie, maybe it's even got great reviews, but something about it just feels predictable, kind of prepackaged. Well, this explainer is all about getting to the bottom of that feeling. The argument is, it's not some failure of creativity, it's the result of a system doing exactly what it was built to do. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to build a conceptual toolkit so we have the right ideas to understand the forces at play. Then, we'll use that toolkit to see how the entire history of cinema has unfolded. Sound good? Let's dive in. Right, so the idea we're exploring here isn't that movies have just gotten worse or something. It's that the whole medium, the entire art form, has been shaped by this deep underlying pressure, a kind of optimization problem that's always pushing it in one particular direction. And at the absolute core of this whole thing is one big idea. There's an invisible, self-optimizing rule that has been quietly shaping what gets made, what it looks and sounds like, and even what we, the audience, have been trained to want. It's a loop that's just been running and running for decades. And this theory we're digging into actually gives this rule a name: phantom operand. Now, this is the key concept for our entire discussion, so let's really break down what it means. To put it simply, phantom operand is the force that pushes cinema to reward whatever is easy to recognize, instantly satisfying, and, commercially safe. Over time, it just standardizes everything, turning art into a predictable product by making human bodies, faces, and even emotions into these reliable, saleable surfaces. And you can see here how this whole thing builds on itself in a four-step cycle. First, you've got commercial incentives that shape a film's form. Then, that form starts to train audience habits, teaching us all what to expect from a movie. After a while, these habits harden into industry norms. And finally, those norms create this powerful selection pressure, rewarding films that fit the mold and pushing out the ones that don't. It's a totally self-reinforcing loop. This quote uses a fantastic term from the world of machine learning: overfitting. It's like when you train an AI on data that's too similar. Cinema has learned to be amazing at producing a very, very narrow range of experiences. It's become incredibly efficient at delivering a specific kind of stimulus, but in doing that, it's lost so much variety, nuance, and its ability to truly surprise us. But, this isn't some story of inevitable doom and gloom. Cinema has always had its own tools to fight back against this convergence, to throw a wrench in the gears of the system. So, let's look at the two most important ones. The first tool is called estrangement. This is basically any technique that shatters the illusion and makes you consciously aware that you're watching a movie. Like when a character breaks the fourth wall and talks right to you. It makes the familiar suddenly feel strange, and it forces you to see the construction behind the story instead of just passively soaking it in. The second tool is the cut, and this is a big one. It means way more than just editing. Think of a cut as any kind of boundary or limit. It could be a hard ending, a really challenging scene, or an unconventional structure. It's anything that creates friction in the system and stops that smooth, frictionless optimization process in its tracks. But here's where it gets tricky. The cut has this dual nature. On one side, it can be a break. It's an engineered collision of images that really makes you stop and think, like in classic montage theory. But on the other side, it can be an accelerator. It can be a tool of pure momentum, a rapid-fire commercial rhythm designed only to capture your attention and propel you forward, preventing you from thinking too much. So the same exact tool can either resist phantom operand or become its most powerful servant. Okay, so now that we've got our toolkit, phantom operand, estrangement, and the cut, let's actually apply it. Let's take a look at how these forces have really played out across a century of movie making. This timeline really maps out the journey. Cinema started out as this wide-open attraction machine. Then things like sound and color came along and helped standardize the look and feel of movies. The rating system, well, that turned social rules into just another marketing tool. And now, the streaming era is just eroding all the old boundaries, giving this optimization process fewer and fewer obstacles to worry about. And this is a super important point. This whole optimization thing isn't some modern problem that corrupted pure cinema. According to the film theorist Tom Gunning, cinema's DNA, from day one, was based on attraction, just the raw power to show you something startling and grab your attention. The system we have today grew right out of that spectacular core. And this gives us two perfect examples of that early resistance. You had Charlie Chaplin, who took the spectacle of physical comedy and used his body to make a real argument about social dignity. And then you had someone like Sergei Eisenstein, who weaponized the cut to produce cognitive shock to force his audience to think. Both of them figured out how to harness that power of attraction without being totally consumed by it. And that brings us to today, to what this theory calls the dictatorship of aestheticism, which is basically the end state, where the optimized system has completely triumphed. Now, again, it's so important to be clear. This isn't about saying movies are bad now. Not at all. Great films are absolutely still being made. The fall we're talking about refers to the environment. It's a systemic shift where the entire industry, from the first script idea to the final marketing push, becomes a pipeline designed to churn out optimized, frictionless, and totally predictable content. And these are the symptoms of that system. Bodies are managed to be compliant, to fit a certain template. The way we watch movies becomes a kind of scanning, just looking for the next emotional hit. Performance becomes less about acting and more about being visible in a way that can be shared online. And directing is often just styling within the tight constraints of a franchise. The whole system rewards what's smooth and shareable, above everything else. So we're left with this huge question. In a world of endless streaming content and recommendations driven by algorithms, what does real resistance even look like? What does it actually take to create something genuinely strange, or difficult, or ambiguous? An experience that breaks the loop and just can't be easily consumed or categorized? Well, that's something to think about the next time you press play.